Hola, ¿cómo están? I'm Dave. About to react to this vid. This is Tell Me a Story from Your Childhood that looking back now, you're surprised you survived. I got one. I got a couple actually. I'll kind of share with y'all at the end, I guess. I don't be like revealing shit about my life, honestly, but you know, I'll be trying to give y'all little bits and pieces here and there. So yeah, I guess I'll share at the end. Anyway, let's see what these niggas been through. Let's watch.
Tell me a story from your childhood that looking back on you're surprised you survived.
I'm gonna do this. Let's do this. When I was about 3 years old, back in the mid-1970s, my dad didn't want to keep fighting for custody in the courts, so he decided to pack me, my two older brothers, his teenage girlfriend, and a full-grown St. Bernard into a very old station wagon and drive us from Santa Cruz, California.
I thought she was about to say he packed her in a suitcase, like put her in a suitcase to like hide her. That's what I thought.
Yeah, up into the Alaskan wilderness. Like 100 miles from a town. There we moved into an almost 100-year-old log cabin, and we lived there for about a year. But, whoops, my dad and stepmom kind of accidentally left us there.
This
I don't
makes
really
sense.
know all the details, but I do know that we were picked up by 3 dudes in a helicopter, like that were really freaked out to have found a bunch of small children in the wilderness by themselves. And I had scurvy. You know who gets scurvy? Pirates from the 1600s. That was the stable part of my childhood. It turned out fine. I mean, look at my guns. Look at.
Tell me a story from your childhood that looking back on it now you're surprised you survived.
I hope you get the help you need.
My mom killed my dad. Kept the lower half of his body in a freezer in the basement. Wish I was kidding.
Tell me a story from your childhood that looking back on it now you're surprised you survived.
When I was a kid, I went to afternoon kindergarten with my best friend, and I was a bit of a space cadet, so she would usually prompt me to get off the bus at our stop. But one day she was out sick. And so that day I got lost in a daydream and forgot to get off at my stop and didn't know what to do. So I just sat there until the end of the line. And I went up to the bus driver and I said, I forgot to get off at my stop. What do I do? And she looked at me and said, you're just going to have to get off here and figure it out. Ooh. I was in kindergarten. I was 5.
She ain't shit.
She dropped me off on a busy road about a mile from my parents' house. And it was the late 80s. I feel like stranger danger was really big in after school specials. So I was terrified to ask any adults for help because I thought any adults I didn't know would kidnap me. So I just wandered crying for about 2 hours and eventually somehow made it back to my parents' house. Not one person stopped to ask me if I was okay, but I made it home.
Tell me a story from your childhood that looking back on it now you're surprised you survived.
Oh, my time has come. Okay, growing up, my family was really, really poor. And one time we decided that we were going to take a family vacation. But the thing is, we couldn't really afford to take a normal vacation. My parents, in their infinite wisdom, decided to get us a motel room that was right next to a little theme park. We're adamant about the fact that even though we were staying there, we were absolutely not going to be able to go to this theme park. So we wound up spending the day like fishing or whatever. And then it was the middle of the night. Me and my sister had gone to sleep on the TV, sharing like a little motel bed. Meanwhile, my parents were getting sloshed. They woke us up at like 3 a.m. and they were like, we have a great idea. It wasn't. Like, we're gonna break into this theme park in the middle of the night. My sister and I were still in like our pajamas and we pull out some speakers and we go and trek across this lake. When we get there, there's like this big fence and my parents are like, we're just gonna throw you over. They yeeted us over this fence. Now my sister and I are like 6 and 7 years old and we're on the inside of this park illegally in the middle of the night.
This is why abortion should be legal forever, of all of eternity.
Through the fence and my parents are like, yeah, we're drunk. We have no balance. We can't do this. My mom's like, we're going to find another way in. Don't get caught. They left us. Eventually, they did find their way in, but we don't know how they did it because they don't remember. Okay, TikTok, you win. I've avoided telling this story for months, but y'all keep asking for a part 2, so I'm going to give it to you.
What's part 1?
The reason I was avoiding giving the rest of the story is because it's a bit of a saga, so strap in, guys. Here is the rest of the story to the time that I broke into a theme park with my parents when I was like 7 years old.
Oh, that's the same.
Okay, so when we left off, my sister and I had kind of been abandoned
Why did I think this was a completely different person?
inside a closed theme park in the middle of the night while my parents were looking for another way in. And oh yeah, they were tanked. So on the other side of the fence is this little wooded area that me and my sister are kind of ducked down in, waiting to see if my parents show up. Suddenly we start hearing footsteps come closer, and we start freaking out. Hands reach out and grab us. But it was my parents who thought it was hilarious. We sneak on into the theme park area, and we're looking around and playing with little carnival games and stuff like that. My mom, in her drunken genius, decides that she needs to borrow a jacket from one of the gift shops. So she's messing around with the door of this place, and all of a sudden an alarm goes off. Suddenly, just like that, you are aware that there is security in this park because there are a bunch of lights headed in our direction. Friendly reminder, my parents don't remember how they got in, but it's okay because they've got another genius idea. If you're following this terrible story, also known as why I have childhood trauma, welcome to part 3.
No, bitch.
We left off when we were running from security in a theme park in the middle of the night.
I know you fucking
My parents
lying.
forgot how they even got into the park.
Bitch!
They were smashed out of their minds, decided the best way to run out of the park would be to go through the front entrance because security was coming from the back. So we're all running for the entrance, and security is clearly chasing us from behind. My sister is freaking the F out. And my mom suddenly decides she needs a souvenir.
Nah.
There's nothing around, and we are not going back for that jacket.
Girl, I don't even believe it at this point. I don't believe it, and I'm not about to watch you talk about drunk-ass parents and this thing. I gotta go. I'm sorry. I can't hear people ramble on and on about some shit they made up on the spot. But yeah, I guess, maybe she is telling the truth. I don't know, but I'm not interested anymore. But yeah, people go through traumatic shit. The things that these other people mentioned were pretty bizarre. Her mama killing her daddy, chopping the lower half of his body and putting it in the freezer. Is that what she said? Yeah, my stories don't amount to that, but I have had guns in my face on a couple different occasions. The first time it was by law enforcement, and the second time it was niggas who was robbing us, and this was all when I was under the age of 10. So that was a crazy experience each time. But interestingly enough, I don't feel like that has affected me at all. Like, I don't feel any trauma related to that. With social media, psychology these days, that people think they know so much about how the human brain works, and you need therapy, and this trauma, this affects you the rest of your life. I mean, granted, a lot of that stuff is pretty accurate, and I do understand how people could be traumatized by certain events in their lives, but I don't think about that like ever until something happens that reminds me of it. But it hasn't negatively affected me, to be honest. But yeah, definitely had guns all up in my face, and I thought I was gonna die. So yeah, I am surprised I survived because little D was scared out of her mind and crying and thinking that she was about to meet her end, and I'm still here. I'm here to tell the tale. I won't get into the details of why. I've mentioned it before. If you know, mind your business. If you don't, but anyway, yeah, this was a decent video until we got to the theme park girl. I just don't believe her. I think she's lying. Anyway, let me know what y'all thought. Let me know what other videos you want me to watch, and I'll see y'all the next time. Bye.